Hello. So, chapter 9 talked about different cognitive therapies, and I think that this chapter was really interesting because it can relate to so many of the different types of therapies that we've talked about in the past. Because a person's attitudes, beliefs, and values is so closely connected and is so important in almost all different types of approaches. So I thought it was really interesting how the book spoke about how mental health services are encouraged by insurance providers to use cognitive approach because it's known as like the here and now solution, and insurance companies are wanting solution and problems to be fixed in as few sessions as possible, which seems like it shouldn't be like the number one factor, but it does help, probably because the counselors have such a large caseload that they're needing to be able to help as many people as possible. And so I thought that was interesting to be included. It also talks about cognitive reconstructing and skills, and how a counselor will need to adapt and change the content of beliefs in different inmates, especially relating to rational emotive therapy, which focuses on offenders specifically, because it talks about like irrational beliefs, and that can lead directly into the error thinking of different inmates, and how like they couldn't help it, and how they can't help but commit these crimes when really there needs to be this shift in their thinking. And I liked the map of irrational thinking where it talks about like from the action to the beliefs to the consequences. And so the counselors need to be able to identify those within different inmates and how those are related, so that they can be able to shift their irrational ways of thinking into rational, and to help the inmates in that way. It also goes into like different problem solving steps, and the chapter gave a lot of different techniques that help the counselors be able to speak to their clients in an empathetic way, and as well as like moral education approach, which doesn't technically relate to cognitive therapy, but some say that it does, and it's like the reasoning structures within the inmates, as well as like the aggression replacement trainings. And I feel like that one is super beneficial because when an inmate is placed in a different setting and it's like brand new, there's a lot of different emotions that are flying around, and aggression can be one of them. And so that kind of training can be super beneficial. So my questions are: what happens when a criminal thinking error is deeply engraved in an inmate's pattern of thinking? And so like what happens when the inmate is like can't let up on their thinking errors, and they just keep like circling back around, and like the counselor doesn't know what to do, like what should the first step be? And then my other question is, and how often are counselors able to seek their clients in a correctional facility, and what happens if their sentences are too short for full progress to be made within therapy, specifically cognitive therapy approach?